RAM prices have exploded in 2026. Contract prices for DRAM jumped as much as 90% in just the first half of the year, and PC makers like Dell, HP, and Lenovo have already raised laptop and desktop prices by 15 to 20%. Memory now eats up 35% of a computer's total bill of materials, up from under 20% before this crisis even started. Then a Chinese company called CXMT started showing up everywhere. Tech YouTubers, Reddit threads, and short videos all made the same promise: a homegrown Chinese chipmaker was finally about to break the memory cartel and crash RAM prices for everyone. It sounds like exactly the underdog story consumers have been waiting for. So who is CXMT? Short for Changxian Memory Technologies, it is a Hefei-based, state-backed chipmaker built specifically to end China's dependence on foreign DRAM. In just a few years it went from a fringe player nobody outside the industry had heard of, to a company shipping DDR5 modules that actually show up in real consumer products, including a Corsair Vengeance kit built on CXMT dies. Part of why this myth spread so fast is precedent. In early 2025, a Chinese AI startup called DeepSeek shocked the world by matching top-tier chatbots at a fraction of the training cost, and the internet's takeaway was simple. When China builds a competing version of expensive Western tech, the price collapses. So when CXMT started appearing in consumer RAM kits during a historic memory shortage, people assumed the same script was about to play out with DRAM. It made for a great headline. It just wasn't true. Some outlets actually tested this claim directly instead of just repeating it. TechSpot bought budget DDR5 kits built on CXMT dies and ran them head-to-head against mainstream Samsung and SK Hynix modules. The verdict: CXMT memory works, and it is a genuinely useful option when nothing else is in stock, but it is not meaningfully cheaper once you compare like-for-like speeds and capacities, and warranty support from lesser-known brands is far less consistent than what you get from the big three. But here is the part most of those viral posts leave out. At Computex 2026, the actual memory module vendors who buy CXMT's chips said something very different. They confirmed, on the record, that CXMT prices its DDR5 silicon right in line with Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. Not a discount. Not a fire sale. The same price tag as the companies it was supposedly going to dethrone. That destroys the core assumption behind every CXMT will crash RAM prices video. A company entering a shortage-driven market and matching the going rate is not disruption, it is just joining the market at full price. If CXMT wanted to undercut everyone, this was the moment to do it. It didn't. So what does CXMT actually change? Supply, not price. Because CXMT has chosen not to chase the ultra-high-margin HBM chips that AI data centers are desperate for, it keeps pumping out ordinary consumer-grade DDR5 while Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron redirect their best factories toward AI customers instead. For consumers, that means more DDR5 modules physically available to buy. It does not mean a lower price on the sticker. To understand why, you have to understand what is actually causing this crisis, and it has almost nothing to do with gamers or laptop buyers. AI data centers are buying up so much high-bandwidth memory for NVIDIA-class hardware that HBM alone now consumes 23% of all DRAM wafer output worldwide, up from 19% just a year earlier. Every wafer that goes to HBM is a wafer that does not become RAM for your next PC. That single shift is why regular consumers are feeling this so hard. Memory now accounts for roughly 35% of a PC's total cost to build, versus 15 to 18% before the crisis, and that number shows up directly on price tags at Dell, HP, and Lenovo. When the world's biggest memory makers chase AI margins, laptop and desktop buyers are the ones absorbing the difference. Samsung and SK Hynix have openly said this AI-driven shortage could last until 2027 or beyond. That is not a rumor from a YouTube short, that is a statement from the two largest memory makers on Earth. Analysts still expect conventional DRAM contract prices to climb another 13 to 18% in the third quarter of 2026 alone. CXMT is not the only Chinese memory maker riding this wave either. YMTC, China's leading NAND flash producer, is expanding output at the same time, right alongside CXMT's DRAM push. Both companies are scaling for the same reason. This is not a one-off blip, it is China building a permanent, self-sufficient memory industry to never again be this exposed to a foreign supply crunch, or to export controls, again. Meanwhile, CXMT itself is not exactly starving for cash, which tells you everything about its pricing strategy. In the first quarter of 2026 alone, CXMT reported revenue of 50.8 billion yuan, about $7.5 billion, up 719% from the same quarter the year before. Its operating margin was 70%. That is not a company sacrificing profit to win over budget PC builders. That is a company cashing in on the exact same shortage everyone else is. CXMT is scaling fast, though. Its combined Hefei and Beijing fabs currently run around 290 to 300,000 wafers a month, and that number is set to keep climbing through the rest of 2026. A new Shanghai facility, 2 to 3 times the size of the Hefei site, starts installing equipment later this year, with production beginning in 2027. But even CXMT's own long-term roadmap admits the scale needed to truly fix the shortage is enormous. Analysts estimate China would need roughly 800,000 wafers a month of DRAM capacity to reach real self-sufficiency. CXMT is currently running at less than half of that, even counting the expansions already announced. And none of this is happening out of goodwill toward PC gamers anyway. CXMT exists because US export controls cut China off from the newest foreign chipmaking tools, forcing Beijing to fund a domestic DRAM industry almost from scratch. Every wafer CXMT ships is a step toward tech self-sufficiency in a broader US-China chip war, not a discount handed down to grateful consumers. That context matters, because it tells you CXMT's incentive was never to be cheap, only to exist at all. None of this is new for the memory industry, either. DRAM has always been brutally cyclical. A 2017 to 2018 price-fixing scandal sent RAM costs soaring, prices crashed by 2019 once new capacity came online, then AI demand flipped the market again in 2026. If history is any guide, today's shortage eventually resolves the same way every other one has, when enough new capacity from CXMT, Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron finally catches up to demand. That, eventually, is doing a lot of work, though, and right now nobody credible is putting it before 2027. So what should you actually do if you are building or buying a PC right now? Most builders are better off buying the RAM they need today rather than gambling on a crash that multiple industry leaders say isn't coming soon. If you do go with a budget CXMT-based kit to save money or find stock at all, treat it like any lesser-known brand, check the warranty terms carefully, and don't expect it to beat a name-brand kit on price once you compare the same speed and capacity. So here is the honest verdict. CXMT is a genuinely big deal for global memory supply, and it is a real reason DDR5 has not become completely unobtainable in 2026. But it was never designed to be the consumer's price-crashing hero, and every video claiming otherwise is selling a myth that the vendors who actually buy these chips have already debunked in public. If you are waiting for cheap RAM, the honest timeline points to 2027 at the earliest, and probably only after CXMT and its rivals both finish building out the capacity they have promised. The bigger story here is not really about RAM sticks at all. It is about an AI boom so hungry for memory that it is reshaping the price of nearly every device on Earth, and a Chinese chipmaker racing to make sure China never has to depend on anyone else for it again. Subscribe for more stories like this one, breaking down the real economics behind the tech headlines.